Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Unraveling.
Hi.
This is episode 8. 8!
Crazy.
Yeah, today we're gonna do like a catch up episode because for those who've listened to us, you know that Alyssa and I talk almost every day, but I have been traveling, so we haven't really been talking.
It's been very weird.
So, I know it is
I don't
weird.
like it.
Even in our group with our other friend, it's like I feel like I've been like so out of the loop. But anyway, so yeah, we're just gonna chat, answer a few questions, just talk about. It's gonna be a little different today. We're not gonna talk about, as serious of stuff. More like probably parenting and things like that. So, anyways, how are you? How was your week?
Good. We have a wild storm here in Texas today. My power's already gone off and on twice, so I apologize if there are any errors in this episode. We are also supposed to get hail, which is normal here, and tornadoes. So praying that doesn't happen today.
That's crazy. Do you think it's gonna be like that once I'm there?
Could be. Definitely could be. You're like, maybe I'm not coming.
Is it still hot though? Is it cold or
It's
hot?
been like 80s, but like it wasn't raining when we left earlier. And then like when I just went outside, it was like way cooler. Like so it brought in a cold front. So that is why the tornadoes happen, because it's like warm and then the cold front comes in and that's why you have tornadoes. So
it's not like monsoony because it's been windy and monsoon kind of like here.
Yeah, it's kind of like a monsoon, I would say, but because you have like the thunder and stuff, right, with that?
Yeah, well, in New Mexico, it's been so windy here at night. It's like you can hear it. My mother-in-law said they get monsoons about this time.
Yeah, it's definitely similar because it's like I lived in Arizona, so it's like we got monsoons there, and so
I miss those.
I mean, it's fun
in Arizona.
It's fun.
I'm probably not living in it, but yeah, like when I visit my family, it was fun.
Yeah.
But also, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, because the last time my mic, I just feel like you couldn't hear on the mic as good, but I set it up a little different.
Okay, yeah, you were quieter, but no, it sounds better.
Okay.
We are having all these difficulties with our mic. It's like 2 times ago was my mic, last time it was yours. Let's hope this time we just.
I know, and it's funny because I didn't realize it the last time at all.
I didn't really notice it until you said it, and then I was like, oh yeah, you are quieter. But I also feel like my mic was like kind of loud on the last one, so we'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll get there.
We're still newbies. We're just getting used to this.
I know. Anyway. Yeah, my week was kind of wild. Okay, so something crazy. So I told Jamie this already, but on Sunday, I feel like, okay, so I've kind of already said this, but like our service at church, like we're starting a new series and it's all about like the family. And he's literally talking about like the devil hates the family, right? Because God created it. And then we're driving home and my kids just can't stop fighting in the back of the car and our day's just kind of off. I had a really rough time with one of my kids. And I was like, of course this happens like on this day, right? And then you said, yeah. And then you said you had a hard day with one of yours, right? It was the same day? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
It was the same day. Then I'm talking to my sister this morning and she was like, what day was this? And I was like, Sunday. And she was like, oh my gosh, I had the craziest day with one of her kids. And then she said her friend's kid also had something crazy happen that day. And I was like, was the devil just like really going after the kids that day?
The prowl.
Or what? Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like,
that is really
weird. Like all of these kids are screaming.
Like, for both of us, I know we talked about a little bit, like it was, and this happens like every so often with my one child, but she just can't get her emotions under control. But yeah, it was like, it wasn't just like a normal, like,
it was different.
Okay, you need to stop doing that. It was like 20 minutes of just like, it's just so hard.
Isn't that so weird?
It's hard because like teaching your children to regulate their emotions, you're also teaching yourself. And personally, I mean, we've talked about this, about how I grew up. I don't feel like I don't feel like I ever dealt with emotions. It was just like, you know, you just stuff it and eventually it leaves. So
Mm-hmm.
this is such like a huge learning experience for me because I'm learning too, you
Right.
know, like she's not going to calm down if I'm not going to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's just wild. Like it's so foreign to me that it is a struggle.
I know. It's crazy. I feel like it's just seriously like being a parent makes you realize how much you need Jesus. Like, truly. I feel like this has been the time of my life where I'm like, wow, like, I am very flawed. And, like,
Yeah.
parenting is
Yeah.
wild.
I think it's been the most sanctifying thing, which is why God tells us, you know, to be fruitful. I think to be fruitful, multiply, because he knows that marriage and having children is the most sanctifying thing, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
So for anybody listening, get married, have babies, because if you want to be, if you want to be changed, that's the way to
This
do
is the way to do it. That's for sure. It's like you think it's marriage is hard, but kids are, they teach you a
yeah, it's like
lot.
with marriage. I thought marriage, like our first year was probably the hardest just because I grew up more independent, I feel like. And then like, you know, just learning to live together
Yeah.
was hard. But like after our first year, I feel like it's just never, it wasn't like that difficult. And then
Mm-hmm.
we had kids and then, well,
Yeah.
like I thought marriage was going to be the sanctifying thing, which it is still at times. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Definitely kids.
being a parent is just like, ugh.
I know.
It's like I always say to my husband, I'm just like, is this how parenting's supposed to feel? Like I'm always like it's the most joyful thing in the world and yet the hardest thing in
Totally.
the world.
I know. I
Like you
know.
said, that's the point. So we're looking to Jesus because we can't do it on our own, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And it's like so Jamie and I, like, we're obviously always telling each other, like, oh, this day was hard, this day was not. And it's like last week or the week before, I was like, Jamie, I did so good today. One of my kids
Yeah.
was having a meltdown and I
Yeah.
kept my cool the whole time. And then it's like another week goes by and I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Like, some days you get it great and some days you just feel like, dang, I suck.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, that's definitely why we need Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, that was our week's been pretty good besides that one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my youngest, oh my gosh, she has not been sleeping this. I'm sure it's because of traveling
Yeah,
and
for
like just,
sure.
you know, you're out of rhythm. But
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, I don't think she's slept. Last night, the two youngest, one was having nightmares
Mm.
like every hour, finally
Oh my
dozing off, and then
gosh.
either one would start crying or one would have a nightmare.
Cool.
And I was just like,
I love that.
I literally felt like a zombie this morning.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
like, oh.
That's the worst. I don't know. I always feel like, I mean, not so much anymore, but my youngest, like, whenever we would travel, she would just she never wanted to go to sleep and she wouldn't
Yeah,
stay asleep. And it was just like, it's like I almost didn't want to leave my house, like sleep anywhere else, because it's like I knew I wasn't going to sleep if we went anywhere.
I know.
It was just like
I know. I'm,
so hard.
girl, you better get used to it. We travel a lot,
Yeah, you
so you
do.
better get with it.
She'll get there,
Like
maybe.
you can't do this for the rest of your life. Yeah,
Yeah,
she
it took my
will.
youngest, I mean, she's 3.5 almost now. And I feel like only in the last few months has she decided she wanted to sleep sometimes. So it took a while. It was a
We'll
lot of,
get there.
you'll get there, a lot of not sleeping for a long time. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. I think one of the things that we should talk about is just, you know, one of our friends is kind of going through this right now, but just like Alyssa and I both are stay-at-home moms. And I think it's something we've talked a lot about the past year, but I think there's a lot of moms out there who want to be stay-at-home moms. And it's that financial side of things that people are like,
Do you hear this?
oh my God.
Just a normal day in Texas.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
That scared me.
That
Oh
was a
my
big one. You
gosh.
could even like see the flashes on my wall. That was good.
That was crazy. um, wow, that was nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that I think we've been asked a few times. I know I've been asked, you know, like just how do we do it? Because obviously, Alyssa and I both we live off of our husband's income, one income, and it's just like, I think like the Lord has really put it on mine and Alyssa's heart to only be stay-at-home moms.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully we both have husbands who are so supportive of that. But it's very much like, the few friends I have that want to be stay-at-home moms, it's really just like, you know, you just have to cut back and you have to sacrifice. Like, what's the more important thing? Like, what is most, like, what's God putting on your heart? That's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then trust him to, like, if he's put that on my heart, he's going to provide,
Yeah, let me see. Okay, so I do have a very small part-time job. I don't really make any money, but it still does help, right? Let me see if I can find it. I was just reading. So I just found out that in a few months I'm not going to have this extra job that I have. And so we've just been so this is kind of what brought up, me and Jamie have been talking about this, is like, I feel like the world would just tell you, like, go find another job. Like, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
the job I have right now, I really don't work that much, but it still gives me enough, you know? But it's like, if I have to find something else, I know I'm going to be working way more. And so my husband and I have been praying over this, but I just read, like, I've just been praying, like, should I be looking for another job? Like, what should I be doing? Hold on. I swear I'm going to find it. Okay, right here. It's Titus 2, and it's talking about, like, our jobs. Okay, anyway, I'm just going to read it. They are to teach what is good, and so train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands. And I just noticed how it says working at home, you know? And I feel like it kind of goes with like the way we want to homeschool, because it's like we feel like these are our kids and it's our job to teach them, right? And so it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like with every decision I make in life, I kind of go back to, like, well, how did God intend it in the beginning? Like, we've obviously come so far and life has changed from what God made it. But like, I think back then people were probably teaching their own kids. And it's like, and then here it's like he's talking about work at home and like take care of your families in your home. And so just kind of for me, and maybe nobody, like, somebody wouldn't take this the same way as me, but I took that as like, okay, like, I can stay home and like trust that God's going to provide for us with or without my income that I had before. And so God's already like come through on that a little bit and helping.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. So me and my husband were praying and over like what we should do. And he found out that he could get a little bit more overtime. And it was just like right when we prayed it was like a day or two later, like this happened. And this has happened for us like a few times in the last year. It's like right when we find ourselves struggling, we just are praying and God gives us a way to make it work. So I feel like if we and like, I feel like we've talked about this before, but maybe not. I feel like everybody has their own like convictions, right? So it's like not everybody has that feeling, like they don't have that on their heart, but I feel like me and you specifically do. And so we've just been able to encourage each other in that a lot. And like, this is just where we're at, and we want to trust God in that.
Yeah. I think it's been like, I mean, I've been a stay-at-home mom since a little after my oldest was born, but I feel like just from the time of becoming a parent till now, like, I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I feel like even the call to just live more simply has been like huge for us. Like, I always imagine living in like a bigger home and like, I don't know, just having all the things. I just thought that was like a normal desire and it is, most people do want that, but I just feel like God really like impressed on my heart the past couple years of just like, just living simply. And I just like these verses. Here I have them. Where did it go? But like Matthew 6:19 through 21, it's talking about like not storing up for yourselves treasures on earth. And then in First Timothy, it talks about just contentment is great gain. And I just like, I really feel that. Like, I feel like God has really taken away those desires for a lot of the worldly things. Not all, because I love to shop. So I do struggle stuff. A lot. But like for the bigger homes and like giving my kids all the things, like I really feel like he's just like told me and shown me that like the most important thing is that my kids have me
Yeah.
and not the thing. And like you and I have talked about this before, but one of my parents' biggest thing is like my parents worked quite a bit. My mom ended up going back to work when I think I was like 5. And that's her and my dad's like biggest regret is that like she started working again and like wasn't there for me and my siblings. And my dad worked tons of hours. Like honestly, like I feel like I hardly saw my dad.
Yeah.
And my mom was working a lot too. And so I know for both of them, like my dad always says, like, I wish I would have cared less about the things, getting you guys the things, and just like spent more time at home. And my mom wishes she had never worked all together, you know? And so that has always been like, that's one of the things my parents have told me that has always stuck with me is like the most important thing is my children and their salvation. And for me and my husband, that looks like me staying home. And even, you know, Alex stays home now. And that was something, gosh, I think that was like 4 years ago now. Alex and I both really felt like the Lord wanted us both home. And like, obviously that seems very impossible to have 2 parents home. You need to have an income. And so we just kept praying and praying like, Lord, what is a way that Alex could stay home and work? And when we moved from California to Montana, his boss like really loved him. And he's like, sure, you can work from home. That's fine. And he kept the same pay, which was California pay in Montana. So that was huge. And then we got here and it was what I think like a couple months into living in Montana that his boss basically just threw this business had been around since his father like started this business. He threw it into the ground. Alex lost his job. And I found out I was pregnant. It was like all within a week. We found out Alex's papa was really sick. Alex lost his job. And I found out I was pregnant with our last. And I was like, I literally was like, God, like, I don't understand. Like, we prayed this that Alex could work from home. Then you made it happen. And then you just like took it from us.
Right.
And I was like so devastated. And then I think it was only a couple months later that a CPA friend of my parents, who Alex had worked with a little bit here and there, they just like were talking on the phone, and Alex joked like, well, if you ever want someone to take over your business, and he's like, actually, I do want to retire, and my son doesn't want the business. And he was just like, next time you're in California, let's sit down and talk. And like, we've been able to take this business from this friend of ours, and it's just like, that doesn't just happen.
No.
You do not just get like a whole CPA business. That is unreal. And so like, it's just crazy because we thought the best thing was you working from home for this other guy. And then the Lord took that away, and I was a little bit shook. And then it was like, this is actually way better for you. You're going to be your own boss.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to make more. And it was just like, you know, it's just those things. Like, we prayed for 4 years almost. And like, so it's just like those little changes of like, okay, if you step down and work less, like, what can we get rid of? Like, what things can we do without? And I don't know, I don't think I'll ever not be thankful. Like, it still kind of makes me want to cry sometimes when I think about all that God did that year, because it's just insane. Like, that doesn't happen.
Right.
And so we definitely, like, we know that's not the usual. And we know we're very blessed to have had that happen. But it's just like, I just feel like the Lord was so faithful to like put that on our hearts. And then we were just continually praying about it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's so cool. And even like, well, I was going to say too, like everybody does always say, like, when God takes something away from you, he's probably going to give you something better, you know? And I feel like that's so true. Like, even in our own lives, like, we can see that. I mean, we had a wild few years. So we Jamie and I obviously lived in California. That's how we met in high school. And then my husband and I, we moved to Texas in 2019. And then after I had my last baby, I was so hormonal and like missing family and stuff. Made a decision to move. We moved 4 months after I had her, which is crazy. Like, that was not a time to make a mental decision after you have a baby.
You weren't thinking of that, right? You didn't think of that move until she was born?
Yes. It was like, let's do it. And we just, like, literally. Yeah, we just did it. And so we moved. it was so like God telling us not to go, I swear. Like the drive, we're leaving. We're moving to, so we decided to move to Arizona. We didn't want to be back in California, but we wanted to be close enough to just have a driving distance versus flying because we're really far away right now. So, but it's like God was like, don't go. I mean, my husband's car broke down like 2 hours away. So bad. It,
I remember you texted me when that happened.
it was so bad.
Right?
And like, it was such a long story. We ended up leaving his car in Texas, and like we just went to Arizona. Like we had, my kids got so sick on that trip, like super high fevers. Like we were all like falling apart, and I was like, I feel like we should go back. And my husband was like, no, we're already going. And I was like, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. And it was just like the whole time our house, we left before our house sold. It wasn't selling for forever. God worked it all out, and he gave us like, somebody let us stay at their house for free for 6 weeks. Then another person let us stay at their house. My parents, they had a house there. We stayed at their house for 6 weeks, and then we finally got our house. But it was like the worst year. But like God brought like so much good out of it. You know what I mean? It's like we came back. We decided that wasn't for us. We're like, we're going back to Texas. Yeah. And we came back, and God has like seriously worked everything out so crazy here. It's like you can't explain it other than it was just God, you know? And so it's like,
well, even the peace you felt, it was like immediate.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Okay.
Seriously. It was like when we lived there, I just always felt, and I think Jamie feels the exact same way about where she lives, is just like, I don't feel like this is home. There's just like this feeling, and I can't describe it, of it's just like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. And literally I have this memory in my head of driving back, and it's like we just got back into Texas, and I felt that peace come over me, and I can't explain it. Like I felt that when we first moved here, you know what I mean? It's just like, this is where we're supposed to be, and I can feel that. And so, yeah, I know it's hard. Like it's super hard being away from family, but you have to do what God's calling you to do, and like what you think is best for your own family, you know, at the end of the day. But like,
I was gonna say, I think that's what I've learned so much this year, is that like those Bible verses about when you get married, like leave and cleave, like those are meant to be like taken seriously, because you know, right now we live in Montana, and so most of my family, my husband and I, didn't really feel this way. We never felt scared in 2020. I know a lot of people did, but that was just not my feelings. It was just maybe because I've always been more of a conspiracy minded person. It just was like, feel that crazy to me. I did think Jesus was coming back, but I wasn't scared. But anyway, so a good chunk of my family decided to up and move out of California because they were worried it was going to get crazy, and we had already wanted to move out of California. And then my in-laws, they got new jobs that took them out of California, and financially we just thought, okay, this is the best decision. Like, we wanted to move anyway. We'll move to Montana, not really knowing much about Montana. It is beautiful. If you go to Montana in the summer, I literally always say this to people, you cannot beat Montana summer. Beautiful, everything. Like, we literally in the summer go fishing every day, just go to the lake every day. It's just beautiful. But winter, very, 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 very hard. But anyways, all that to say, like, that first year was probably one of the hardest years I've ever had. And we weren't even talking every day at that time. You were just getting out of that situation, right?
No, we moved at the same time. It was
I think that's why we started talking.
It was 2022 when we moved. Yeah. I think we moved in June, and you moved in the fall, like September, right? Am I right?
Yeah, in September. Yeah.
It was the same time.
Yeah. And so it was just a hard year for a lot of reasons. Like I said, lost our job. We lost someone close to us, and just other family situations that were really hard. But at the end of the day, it's like, so now my husband and I we're looking for a home on this trip. And it's hard because my parents are still in Montana, and I know it's going to crush them, but I have to, you know, it's about our little family now. That's what I was trying to say about leaving. It's like, I have my own children, And I just know where I'm at right now is not the best thing for them.
Mhm.
And, or for my, with Alex's health and stuff,
Yeah.
like it hasn't been the easiest. And so,
Mhm.
anyways, I just, all that to say is like, if you're in a situation like Alyssa and I both have had to go through this, where we feel like this guilt of leaving our, family outside of our little families.
Mhm.
But it's like at the end of the day, God has given us this family. He's blessed us with these children, and they're our responsibility. And they come, like, obviously our relationship with the Lord is first, and then our spouse. But like, your kids' well-being is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't think about myself in this situation. Where do I want to live and be? I need to think about like my children, and it's really hard. It's not easy. It's like, I still cry sometimes thinking like I won't have my mom, to just call up and hang out with.
Yeah.
But,
It's like I haven't
you know,
lived with my family in over 6 years. And it's like so
yeah.
weird. It's still weird and it's still
Mhm.
sad. But it's like
Yeah.
I tried to be, even a little closer, and I just didn't feel like I didn't feel like that's where God wanted us. So you just ultimately have to do you yeah, it's hard. It's because like it's your family is your life growing up, and then to totally I mean, you're not distancing yourself, but you can't choose their happiness over your kids'
Mhm.
happiness, and that's where it's hard in it. And I think like for my family, I don't know, but I still do think she's super hurt and feels like my mom, like it's personal, and it's not personal. You know what I mean? Like I love her and I wish she
Yeah.
would live here with us, but she has other
I
kids
know.
back there. So it's like
Yeah.
I get it. Like I don't know. It's just hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard place to be
It
in.
is hard. That's why I'm always telling the kids, because like I know they're going to be devastated. Because every time we have to leave my in-laws, they're so devastated. And they're just always like, oh, why can't we all live
I
together still?
know.
And I'm just always like, you guys can always pray and ask the Lord. So my in-laws are considering moving wherever we move, and
Which would be
that's
so
an answer to
cool.
prayer.
Yeah.
But my parents, I think, are a little more stubborn. So I'm just praying that the Lord will
Mm-hmm.
work on their heart. And I don't blame them. And honestly, if they stay there, I'll be happy too, because Montana's so beautiful in the summers that we'll go back and
Mm-hmm.
be there for a good chunk of time. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is so hard. But I will say this, like, if you're someone who, like, I do think having, they say like it takes a village, and I think there's truth in that. And I think that like the original plan and intent was that we were next to all of our extended family so we could have help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not the way life looks anymore. But like, if you're in that situation, because like in California, I was literally like 20 minutes from
Mm-hmm.
my parents
Right.
and my in-laws,
Same
and
for
we
me.
were with them at least once a
Oh
week.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
So it's like, if I could go back, the grass isn't always greener.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wanted to leave California. Mostly, my husband and I aren't really into politics, but like financially, California is just
It's
insane.
insane.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, especially for one income. So, but if I could go back and none of us moved, I would stick to California,
Yeah.
like just for the sake of being with my family. But
I know.
it's just not that way
I mean,
anymore.
that's the way we have nobody here. Like, I'm with my kids 24/7. We don't have a babysitter to watch them to go out on date night. Like, the only time we ever have that is like, and we do have family come in quite often. My in laws, well, my sister in law, she's a flight attendant. So that means my husband's parents get free flights. So they actually fly out probably every other month. They stay with us for the weekend. So normally when they're here or my family comes, we're like, okay, we're going on a date night. Bye.
Yeah.
Because like that's the only time we have. So that is definitely hard to not have anybody to help for sure.
Yeah.
But you get
Which just like, I was thinking like stay at home moms, like it sounds so, like, I remember thinking like getting to be a stay at home mom. Oh my gosh, that'll just be so amazing and nice. And I'll just like, but you don't realize how hard it is. It's like you are trying to deal, especially the more kids you have, the more emotions, are being brought up. And so like, it's not an easy job, because I always, and I do this too, but like if you ask a mom like, oh, like what do you do, a lot of times moms will be like, I'm just a stay-at-home mom.
every time.
And it's like,
Yep.
okay, I know, like, and I do that,
I do it
but I'm
every
always
time.
like, it's not just,
No.
because it is a hard job. Like, you're trying to lead these babies to Jesus, try to be a good example all the time, and it's like,
and you never
Gosh,
get a
you're constantly
break.
feeling like, yeah, you don't,
Like,
and you feel like a failure, and you feel like a jerk for wanting a
I
break.
know.
Which,
So like the other night, my boys just kept coming in our room, like after we already put them to bed. And I'm like, go to sleep. Like, what are you doing? It's bedtime. And my husband's like, it's fine. And I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, bedtime to when I go to sleep is my only chunk of the day where I don't have to be a mom for like 1 to 2 hours
yeah,
a
so you
day.
can think straight.
Yeah. So it's like, this is like important to me. But no, it's like, I love it so much. And I couldn't imagine not being home with them. Like, truly, like, I couldn't ask for anything else. But it's a sacrifice in a lot of ways. It's a sacrifice, like you said, with like things like you can't just go buy yourself whatever you want. And like the home thing, you know, your mom saying, like, so Jamie told me that her mom said that about like she wished she would have just stayed home, and like you made a comment like your dad said, I wish we would have just got a smaller house, you know. And that has stuck with me. I'm not kidding. I think about that all the time. It's like I used to always want like the cutest house and like the nicest house and like all these things. I'm like, I don't care where I live. Like, it could be tiny. I don't care. Like, I just want to be able to raise my babies at home and like be there for as much of it that I can, because goodness gracious, like my oldest is 10 and I'm like,
It goes
he's 10. He's going to be 18 in like less time than we've already had with him. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, it's devastating. It's so sad.
it's literally like,
I hate it.
I just can't. It's just like, I'm just so thankful. I'm so thankful I get to homeschool. I'm so thankful I get to stay home, because I just also see like this is the benefit of being a homeschool parent, is that one, you get to make your own schedule, but like the things that I see my kids being interested in are not things that happen at school.
Totally.
Like
Yeah.
my oldest woodworking like his dad, and my other little boy like loves working on cars, and they get to spend time doing that. Like they're in the shed like working on like projects and stuff like all summer, and like he would not get to do that,
Right.
you know. And so it's like that's what's special. And I think like I'm not trying to, you know, anybody who has their kids in school, I know not everybody has that privilege for their kids to stay home or homeschool, but obviously there's a lot wrong with the school system.
Yeah.
And a lot of that to me is that these children, like I think about when we were in school, like you're in school like 8 hours a day, then you have homework when you get home, then you have to, if you're lucky, you get to sit down and eat a meal with your family, and then it's bedtime. It's like, when do they have time to like really look into different things they're interested in?
True.
You know what I mean? Like, or they play sports, so they're going straight from school to sports to home to like barely getting sleep.
Yeah.
So it's just like I see them, like my oldest especially, but like he's already playing, like trying to play guitar, and he loves woodworking, and just the fact that like he can finish school in like 30 minutes and then you know, like do whatever he wants to do and work on that and get good at that. Like, gosh.
No, I know, it's so
like
true.
That. And that's, I think that's the problem with the school system, is they don't want anybody like learning skills or being self-sufficient.
Yeah, they just want you to learn how to, I don't know, be an employee.
Yeah. I know. Isn't it crazy to think about? Like, I just feel sad for kids, because I just remember being in school and you had to raise your hand to even go to the bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I remember, this will never leave me. I had on these new overalls that I loved, but they were like not like the normal button at top. They were like almost like the kind you clamp down and then you pull it out. Anyways, I had to pee so bad. I raised my hand. She finally let me go. I'm running to the bathroom. I couldn't get this thing off, right? I had to wait for so long. I run back. I'm like, I think I was like 8. I'm like asking my teacher, I can't get it off, can't get it off. I peed my pants.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure she hid it like well enough. I don't think anybody knew I did. But I was like mortified.
That's traumatizing. And you just think about,
like, isn't it? And then I think about, okay, my kids like can't even sit still for like the 20 minutes I do.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And they're like going to the bathroom or wanting to eat a snack. And I'm like, I cannot even imagine one of my kids going to school.
The snacks that homeschool kids go through is insane. Like, okay, even when we were little, like we didn't have water bottles in our class, did we?
No,
like I don't think
I see a lot of parents saying that.
Like we didn't have water. Always next to us water. And I'm guilty. I have my water next to me. I'm drinking water. I can't leave my house without my water. Like I I don't even care if it's 20 minutes. Like, I need my water. And so my oldest is so much like that. And I'm like, he's just like, I need a snack. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to do this. I'm like, dude, sit down. Like, your school doesn't take that long.
I know. That's like always so crazy to me. I'm just like, seriously? Or like when they complain, they'll be like, about my husband had to work a couple days in town during this tax season, and he'd be gone only like 2 or 3 days a week, I think.
Mhm.
And they were like, oh my gosh, when is dad gonna be back? And I'm like, you know what? Some kids never get to see their dads. Okay?
Seriously. Yeah.
Calm down.
That's so funny.
But yeah, it's the same with the snacks. It's like, oh my gosh, the amount of food they eat.
It's insane.
It's
Like,
crazy.
I just feel like all I do is go to the store and buy my kids more snacks. And I really should probably just cut off the snacks, but
Oh, well, that's why I started buying like okay, if you want to eat snacks, it's going to be like different nuts, or like I really love that Soli brand.
Oh,
'cause
I
it's
know.
like literally just the food,
yeah, I know my kids
but
love
they
those.
have like the jerky or the gummies.
I really wish, this
But-
is a random mom side note, but like, I wish Costco would get the Soli brand, anything of them, because I love all Soli stuff.
They have the jerky. Did yours not get the jerky bars?
No. I didn't, well,
I'm surprised because we usually get.
I'm
no
going
peanut
tomorrow
bars.
and they better have it because I will be buying those all the time.
I know that and those gummies.
Mhm. I don't really like their
And
gummies that
Even
much.
I haven't tried them.
They're really hard,
kids
but
love
I really like their, what are they called? Jerkies. Those are so bomb.
They just look funky.
But did you try
the
them?
Kids like them.
Did you try them?
I'm just kind of weird. I'm a really weird textures person.
They're
I like
really
to feel, like, really
good. I'm always eating all my
I
kids'
just like-
snacks, so you know they're equally for me. Probably, I blame the kids, but
Yeah, I usually just buy like really pretty clean snacks, but right now because we don't have Trader Joe's by us, so I just went and I bought so many snacks. I literally ate the almond butter, the chocolate almond butter cups.
Mhm.
I ate the whole pack.
Jamie,
The
though,
first day.
I'm not surprised.
Like
I'm literally not surprised.
no, and this is why I don't buy stuff because I do not.
Yeah, you don't have self-control when it comes to candy, which is so funny. But like Jamie is the one. So like I mean, I feed my kids pretty decent, but like Jamie is like the queen of like clean eating. So when I started eating like super clean
Not for myself, I guess.
in October, I was like, Jamie, like, what do you feed your kids? She literally made me, what do you even call that? Like she all the snacks from Costco, laid it out all pretty.
What's more sad is how excited I was to make them. Alex was literally like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just making like a cheat sheet for Alyssa so she knows what to get today."
You should literally, I'm going to find it and I'm going to post it. Be like, for any moms who make Costco snacks. It was so cute. And
Oh my
I
God.
buy all of those snacks still for my kids. They love them. But they're all clean. So if you need snack ideas, go to Jamie.
that, and I just learned with the kids because I was buying like so many more, but now it's like what I've learned with kids is if you tell them, like if they tell me they're hungry, I will give them like 5 different fruit options, and at first they'll be like really ticked about it. And like, fine, I don't want to eat. And then eventually they come back and they're like, okay, I'll have this.
Mhm.
So it's like, I feel like I'm sure like we take it a little more serious than a lot of people because
Of
my
Alex,
husband has
yeah.
type 1 diabetes.
Mhm.
So I think that just like, it's heightened in our house. But yeah, it's like really important to me to teach the kids not just like to eat healthy, but why. Like, what does
Yeah.
it do for your body? And I see that like with my oldest too. Like they will.
Your kids
Even
are
if ice
crazy.
cream-
My kids would never.
I mean, my oldest is like so much like me though. If there is a thing of pastry sitting out, we will devour
Okay,
it. But
but
my middle one is.
what did you say you went to? Did you say you went to Costco and you were like, you can have anything, and they chose salad?
We went
No.
to. Oh, they've done that at Costco, yeah. But we went to Panera.
Oh,
I was all
Panera.
excited to take to Panera. I was like, you guys can pick any treat. I'm pointing to like the cookies and the pastries. Like, you can pick any treat. All of you can get one. And then my oldest two are like, I just want a bowl of soup.
Like-
I was like,
No kids do that, Jamie. None. Only yours.
I was just like, why? I was like, and I literally was like, no, like you can have like the cookies or a pastry or something. You have to get food. And
I'll never get
especially
over it.
my middle one, she's just like, no, I want soup.
That is like,
I was like, okay.
literally not normal, but like I'm so glad for you that you got your
horrible.
kids to be like that. My
It's just
kids,
so, and it's funny because I'm not like
yeah.
that. Like,
Oh, me
I
neither.
try to eat healthy, obviously, but if I'm out and about and someone's going to offer me a treat, I am not turning down
Same.
pastries.
Yeah. Donuts are my weakness. I will eat all the donuts.
Oh,
I've been making, so my husband started this tradition of like Sunday, I don't know what he calls it, something, whatever, donut and church day. Yeah, donut Sunday. And so we were going to the donut shop every Sunday where like they literally know us, which side note, growing up, we got donuts every morning, like specifically in 6th grade. I remember going to this donut store. I went so much they knew me. And one day we went to the donut store and I didn't have money. Like, I don't know if I walked in there. My mom would just have me go in, right? And I didn't have money. And I was like, oh, I don't have my money. And they're like, it's fine. You can pay us tomorrow. Like, literally, that's how much I went to the donut store. But, like,
Oh my
gosh,
gosh.
no wonder I have so many issues, right? I get so bad as a kid. But so, anyway, I started making homemade donuts. And they're, like, pretty healthy, you know? And so I can eat them because I can't eat anything. But I will eat like 4 of those donuts. And I'm like, well, they're healthy, right?
You know what?
No
That's my
self-control.
problem. Is I'm like, I literally bake like 2 or 3 times a week, and I always am like, well, I'm using all
It's
organic.
fine.
You know, I'm using the eggs from my chickens. Like, it's fine. I was like, it's still not good to eat 20
No,
cookies.
it's
So
never
it
good.
doesn't matter if they're cooking or not. But that's funny. You know what? You're saying that about going to the donut shops. That's one thing. Like, you don't realize how spoiled you are in California, but you have so
It's
much of
everywhere.
everything. Like, there's donut shops on every
It's
corner.
the same here.
There is
So
one donut shop in Montana where we live. They're like our specific town, and they're good, but there's just nothing like the like hole in the wall donut
yeah.
shops, you know?
In like California, they had the best everything. Like
Really, you could get anything anytime.
Mexican food. I mean,
I
here we
know.
have Tex-Mex, but I don't like spicy and it's way too spicy for me. I just like my California Mexican food. We do have some El Pollo
Yeah.
Locos here, and I'm into that, but that's about as
I
good as
do
it
love El
gets.
Pollo. Yeah, you know what I will say is the one thing I do like about where I live, because like now being here at my in-laws, I love Del Taco. I don't know if they're not
There's no
everywhere.
Del
I think they're
Tacos
only
here,
I
unfortunately.
think Arizona and
Yes,
California are
Arizona
the
has
only
them.
places in here. They have one here in New Mexico, but um like the one thing about the town we live in is there's seriously like hardly any fast food, at least compared to living in California. And it will just like randomly be closed. So it's like there's not really
The
opportunity for me
amount
to fall
of
off.
times Jamie is like, we're going into town today, we're gonna go get this, and then she texts me, she's like, it was closed. Like, I'm not kidding, this happens like at least once a week, I feel like. I'm
Literally
like,
once a week.
what is even your
And
Starbucks?
it will just be like the people will just be like, oh, like there'll be like a written sign like, you know, well, I'm going on lunch, or we didn't have enough people, so we just decided to close for the day.
Oh my gosh, this
And
is
it's like,
wild.
what?
You won't have that
It
here
is-
in Texas. In Texas, everything's open except
Yeah.
for Sundays. There are actually a lot of things that are still closed on Sundays, so you have to watch out for that.
Which
I like
appreciate.
that.
Like
That's
one
fine.
as far as small
Yeah.
town, I like that there's not a lot because I can't eat junk all
That's
the time.
true.
Because like at my parents' old house in California, I'm not joking, it was like a minute drive to the nearest Del Taco.
Mhm.
And so
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
you could have walked there
but
and to your
here
Starbucks.
it's like probably 40 minutes from most of the stuff,
Mhm.
and then it's closed a lot. But I do appreciate that most people there in this small town. That's why I need to find the balance because I like the slowness. Like most of them don't care. They're not like what is it, like living to work. They're just working to live.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I just enjoy life, and that's how I want to be. I just want to enjoy life more. But when you're craving something and you drive 40 minutes and it's closed, it's a little bit of a
Yeah,
bummer.
we have like the best, I feel like, mixture. We're like 10 minutes outside of like a small town and then like 15, 20 minutes outside of like everything. So I feel like we have the best of both worlds. We're like in the country, but not really. You know? I feel like it's great.
that's what I
It is
want.
literally pouring outside. Like it's pouring. So it's crazy over here.
It's hot here. It's been pretty hot.
Did you
But we did it like every night. The clouds roll in, but nothing has happened yet.
are you
so.
supposed to get you haven't had any yet? A monsoon?
No, she was. My mother-in-law was saying she thought yesterday, but Nothing. I'm looking out there now.
I love
Super
them.
sunny out.
I love like the smell of rain. Like when it starts raining, that
Mhm.
smell.
And maybe it's because like I grew up going to Arizona every summer
Mhm.
to see family, and you get
Yeah.
those. It's just like that
Yeah,
nostalgic
probably.
thing. Because like once you live there,
I mean, I
I don't
still
think it
love
was as fun.
them. I don't know. I still loved them when I lived there, but sometimes they were scary.
Yeah,
Like the wind
yeah,
was like intense. It's like a tornado, but just
yeah.
wind.
Speaking of that, this is off topic, but I just saw this story about the butterfly people. Did you hear the story?
No,
I don't know where it was at.
no.
I think it's a documentary on some, I don't know, one of the platforms. And there was a tornado in this town, like 200-mile-per-hour
Hmm.
winds. And like there were reports of these children saying, like in different places,
What?
these were like praying homes of people who would, like were prayer type, believed in the Lord and would pray.
Hmm.
And these kids all over reported when these were happening that these butterfly people were coming down and putting their wings around them and protecting
What?
them. And then they also said, some of them said when they were being held by these butterfly people, like different kids, like didn't have a chance to talk about it and like say these
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
They're different accounts.
Hmm.
Some of them said, I also saw butterfly people taking some people up to the sky. And like,
Hmm.
so then they like, I was like, I don't know. I wish I knew where it was. I didn't watch it myself. I just saw this somewhere. But I was like, isn't that crazy? Like,
That's interesting.
obviously it's
Yeah.
angels. I don't think this particular documentary said it was angels, but it's just like you have these people who are praying over their children,
Hmm.
and these angels come and literally, and like different stories all in one town.
Hmm.
I do think it's kind of weird though. Only one town that this
Yeah, that
like
is very
happened
interesting.
in, but I was just like, that is
I'd be
nuts.
curious. I want to look it up now and see where it was.
And it's just like, it was such a good reminder of just like our prayers really do, like for our children, make a
Hmm.
difference. Like,
That's
I think
definitely,
that's something both of us we've talked
yeah.
about this
We,
past year. Like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, like my prayer life has changed so much, and just like realizing, I think so many people, especially like in Christians, I think there's a lot of Christians who don't want to admit how real the spiritual realm is,
Yeah.
and it's like we are missing out on the opportunity to use like the tool of prayer, like the weapon of prayer,
Hmm.
and like it's a battle. It literally is a battle,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's
And like
crazy.
hearing stories like that, and just like, okay, yeah, like we literally need to be praying over our kids every day, that fortress of protection, and just like over their minds and their hearts. And
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Did you want to get into the question, that one question we were talking about?
yeah,
Or did you have
so
anything else you want to say?
no, just like no, those are just our thoughts on parenting.
Just in case.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
and it was a while. So like just regulating kids' emotions is such like a, it's just sanctifying. Like I said, if I think that should be everybody's goal, is to be married and have kids, because it really does.
Yeah.
It's so sanctifying. And like I think that's what, like, our generation in particular is like so many people we know, we're in our mid-30s and like don't want to get married, don't want to have kids, and it's like
I just feel like that's the
not
way
that
God, that's what God made us for. You know what I mean? Because,
yeah, and there's purpose in it.
yes, because it helps us to become more like Him, obviously, and like put our trust fully in Him, right? And so we're trusting our kids to Him. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
just feel like that's the whole point of life. I mean, the whole point of life is to follow Him, but besides that, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, let's get into this question. Somebody was asking us, and we've talked about this before a little bit, and Alyssa and I talk about it all the
We do.
time, but it says, the question was like, why can we, like normal, unschooled type people, read our Bible and see things like why have our eyes been open to things like the little season or to biblical earth? But then you see pastors, like
Who
there's
don't
not
see
any
it.
pastors that I know. And on our podcast episode with JT, he was even saying one of his, I don't know if it's his friend, but one of the pastors he was talking to, like he won't preach it on the pulpit, but he does believe there's like some of these things going on, but he doesn't want to preach it on the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are some who feel this way, but this question was, why do we think that they aren't seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
or why haven't their eyes open to
Yeah.
it? So I don't know if you were saying you had a thought on that.
Well, it's like, it's something we talk about often. I feel like you and I, me and my sister, me and my husband, and I've been personally asked this question when explaining the little season, like, why do you see it and I don't?
Mm-hmm.
So my best guess, if I had to like, think of like why, I think number one is like, we just haven't heard it, right? Like most people in the church probably haven't heard this idea. So to me, that's like a really big, when I learned this, I wanted to share it because it's like, had Jamie not told me, I I didn't necessarily feel like something was off when I was reading my Bible. Like I don't know. I mean, I was kind of getting hesitant about the rapture happening because it's like I thought it was going to happen and then it didn't. But I just felt like, okay, well, it's just not the time. But had Jamie not said this to me, I wouldn't have just found this on my own. So like that's a super big motivator for me wanting to share this. Um, so number one, I think it's like people aren't hearing it. Number two, it all comes down to, okay, you can hear it, but it doesn't mean you're going to look into it, right? It's like I could have
Mm-hmm.
just been like, okay, Jamie, whatever. But you told me, and then it's like, okay, well, I want to read it for myself. So I think if you're humble, right, and you're like, I want to look into this and like see what it, I don't know. I just feel like if you don't look into it, you're not going to see it because you didn't try.
Yeah.
So I think like to me, I just see it as like you have to hear it and you have to be willing to look into it and admit you were wrong, right? Admit that what we've been taught in the church is wrong. And I think
Yeah.
that's really hard because we don't, I just think, I think like that's too where the big struggle is for people. It's like, well, you're going against the entire church in a way, because
Which makes it seem
which
heretical.
makes it seem heretical, but it's in the Bible, so it's absolutely not heretical, So it's like if it's in the Bible, it's not heresy. But because it's not I mean, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say like the percentages of churches that teach dispensationalism, probably 90-95% of America. And I
Yeah.
and I said this to you, but like I would be super curious. So the people who hear this idea and then look into it, what percentage of them now believe we could be living in Revelation 20 and what percent don't? Because I've never heard anybody who like actually took the time to look into it and then didn't come to this conclusion. I've not heard, and I'm sure there are many people out there, but like I've only heard of people who like I went to disprove it and then I felt like it made the most sense. So that would be my take on it.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of things because it's like obviously we all have the Holy Spirit living in us, but I think so many things play into it, like the way you're brought up and just like your circumstances in life. Like, I've always been one who's more like I'll question things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just feel like it was easier if you're someone who's so dependent on like other people's, I don't know, their like views and their teaching to you. If you're so dependent on other people to figure things out for
Yeah.
you, I don't think you're going to see it. Now with pastors, I think the biggest thing is that, one, can you imagine being a pastor? Like I think there's a few pastors I've been trying to pray for that they will see things the way God wants them to see things, but they have huge congregations, they have huge followings. And I think like, can you imagine being a pastor preaching it one way and then the Holy Spirit impresses this on your heart and it is so like people are like you're a heretic,
Yeah, it's controversial.
and then going against it and going and standing before all these people and the fear of that backlash and that just like what if you're wrong? I think that's part of it too. I think that's what's holding a lot of them back. A lot of it is pride, and I think
Mm-hmm.
also like all these pastors are going to these not the same seminary schools, but they all have the same basic,
Mm-hmm.
It's like that part. It's like you know, a lot of Christians are starting to question the school systems and college school systems, and but like we don't question seminary. It's the same style, setup, everything, and it's like you're not able to question a lot of the things. It's just like when you start to question it, they tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
Uh,
So I just think that's a lot of
there's
it.
that interview with Tucker Carlson, and he's a pastor. I don't remember his name. I'm blanking on his name. But anyway, he's a pastor, and he went to seminary school, and he said when he was going, he was starting to think like this doesn't really make sense. And he said if you brought up, like, did this already happen, people would look at you like, almost like, the way he said it was like you're questioning the Trinity. It's like it was such a big deal that Jesus hasn't returned, that if you question it, you were like really looked down on. And that's where it's very strange. So I think hearing that perspective from him, who went to seminary school, you could see why none of them would question it, right? Because maybe somebody else questioned it and they heard that and they're like, oh, I'm not even gonna go there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was
You don't want to be that loser. Like everybody puts you like in a corner because you just like you think differently.
Yeah.
You don't want to be, so they start to mold to whatever they're telling you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's just one of those things. It's like if you're told something enough that you're wrong, no, that's not right. You're wrong. Then you start to believe, you're like, maybe I am crazy. Even for us, that's why we always say like we still pray, like, Lord, are we missing something? Because you do start to think, and I think that's healthy, and that's how it should be. Is that like even for these pastors who are preaching dispensationalism, I like, or those who are like super adamant about preaching pre-trib, I think they really should be taking a step back, and like that's how God wants us to be, like to always be questioning, Lord, is this of you? Even if you feel like you've been told in the past it was, I think it's okay and healthy to like bring it before all the time and be like, Lord, I want to make sure that I'm following you, that I'm not leading others astray, you know?
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I think that's a lot of it. It's like they're all put through a school system, you know, they're indoctrinated in the same way that we are in regular school.
Yeah, I just think it just comes down to, I think it's kind of like biblical earth. You know what I mean? It's like people don't want to believe that they could have been lied to their whole lives. And so it's like a form of pride of like, well, I couldn't have been misled. That's like mostly what I think it is, because like to not even look into things, I think that's where it's strange to me. Like if you think it's so wrong and you think it's so easy to disprove, then like check it out and do it, instead of just calling people heretics and not looking at it. And I find it very weird, like I don't really get it. I mean, obviously we're on the other side of like thinking that, but I don't know. I didn't ever think like, oh, that's heretical. I just was like, I don't really get how you're getting that. I don't know.
Yeah. Mine was just like how I couldn't understand how someone could come to that conclusion. And so I wanted to know why and how. So yeah, I mean, there's so many Bible verses that basically say, you know, like the humble gain wisdom. And it's that humility of being like, okay, you know what, if this tells me I'm wrong, I'm okay with that, because I'd rather know the Lord's truth and like hold tight to what I want to believe, you know? Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's easier said than done, obviously.
Right. And it's kind of like that Bible verse, like I was telling you about the itching ears doctrine. It's like people are going to follow things that make them, that follow their passions. Is that what it says? And I think the rapture is obviously a positive thing to look forward to. You're like, oh, I won't have to go through anything really bad here. So that's, to me, that would be an itching ears doctrine if I had to, I don't.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So
when I think back to when I believed in that, like I'd say the number one thing was that I'd always just like, hopefully the Lord's just going to take me up. I don't have to deal with it. You know?
I was absolutely terrified to have to be here through the tribulation. Like I think that's the whole point of like all the Left Behind books, and literally terrifies you, especially as a kid. Like watching that, I would read all the books, and it was really,
Mm-hmm.
really scary, and it freaked me out. And I think for sure a lot of kids in our generation who had to watch that and read those books
Mm-hmm.
chose Jesus out of fear, for sure, because I was so scared.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just think to me that's just like a super big motivator of like I need to tell people about this, and they might not believe me, but at least like they have a chance to hear, and like now when they're going to read through, they're going to be thinking that in the back of their head, I think. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
I also just think with this question that we're asked, I think there's just a lot of like, I think that's our job too. Not that people would see things our way, but like just praying over our pastors, because I mean, pretty much every pastor I've ever listened to does not see it the way I see it
Yeah.
anymore. But I feel like, and I don't pray for them all the time or anything, but I feel like when I do see them and I think about it, it's just like praying over them and praying that they have wisdom,
Yeah.
and that the Lord would open up their eyes to things that He wants them to share,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I was just like, I was telling you about that guy that everybody's saying is the Antichrist,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw this person post all her reels are just like, what a time to be alive. I'm so excited. Like, isn't this so great? We get to see this
Did she
playing
make a
out.
reel
Like,
on him?
and I
Oh, I
think
didn't see
so.
it.
And then she's at the end of this thing was like, I'll see you guys in the clouds.
Mm.
And I was just like, I just like, no, it's just so hard for me. And like I said, I don't really, I think it's because I'm on the other side, but you do start to realize like, gosh, for us to feel so excited that we're going to be taken up and like that others will be
And the
suffering.
sad thing is too is it's like, okay, so then all the Christians would be gone. So then there's literally nothing good here left on the earth. Like nobody is here to be like, it's okay, like God's gonna come back for us. Like it'd just be a bunch of people like, you know? That's so
Yeah.
sad. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird.
The pre-trib thing really trips me out now
Yeah.
that I've studied it a lot. And also, like, people are saying this guy, I don't even know his name, but one of the things that got me is like the thing about this view of the rapture is like things just aren't adding up for me now. Like, so everybody's like, this guy's proclaiming to be the successor of Jesus, like he's probably the Antichrist. And one, we've heard that before, but also it's like they stop like going back to the verses about those things. Like when it's convenient for them, they'll talk about these verses, and when it's doesn't line up with what they're trying to make the Antichrist with the mark of the beast, then they kind of leave them out. So like the two verses, so in Luke, we talked about this in the last podcast. It talks about the army surrounding Jerusalem, and you will know the desolation is near. So Jesus tells them they will surround Jerusalem and the temple, and you'll see these armies. Okay, well, we don't have a temple to surround right now. And then, so, it's just, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but then you
that's
get
good.
to Second Thessalonians 2 is where people get a lot of their Antichrist stuff. So the man of lawlessness, it says, concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered to him, we ask you, brothers and sisters, not to become easily unsettled or alarmed by the teaching allegedly from us, whether by prophecy or by word of mouth or by letter, asserting that the day of the Lord has already come. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way. Oops, why'd that do that? Hold on. There it goes. Okay. Asserting, okay, don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for the day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of lawlessness is revealed. So let's say this is this time period. Then it says the man doomed to destruction. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. So this guy, even by their definition of everything that's supposed to happen, this verse alone is saying like he has to set himself up in God's temple and proclaim himself to be God. Well, we don't have the third temple that you guys talk about. So, and he hasn't proclaimed himself to be God. It is really weird, the stuff going on. But honestly, like a lot of the videos I watched on him, it all looks fake to me, which is, I know that's what, everybody's like, you conspiracy theorists think everything's fake, but like all these people holding signs and like, it just seems like it's very intentional. And again, Satan has the playbook. He knows what all of these Christians believe. And it's like, he doesn't want you to know the truth. So the fact that we had many antichrists in our lifetime that like people say is the antichrist, it's like, that should, to me, that's just telling enough. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. There shouldn't have been, like I said the last time, that when the revelation was given to John, between the time of Thessalonians being written and that, there was hardly any time. There was no time for people to think to themselves, I'm going to fake an antichrist. I'm going to fake this, because it was just happening. It was very natural progression. And now we've had all this time. We have Satanists who want to lead us away from Christ, who they know what we think is going to happen. Exactly. So they want to, and they want to place fear in us because they can control you with fear, you know? So to me, that's all this guy is. I haven't watched too much on him, to be honest, because I just have seen everybody posting about him. And then everything I do see of like these people in the streets holding these signs just seems very fabricated.
Yeah.
But like I said, to me, it all comes back to scripture. So like, even if you want to believe the futurist timeline, you can't avoid scriptures like this. If that's what you believe, then it has to follow this exactly. He has to be in the temple proclaiming to be God himself. I think though,
like, I don't think there's any prerequisite, according to futurists, of when the rapture could happen. Is that what you're saying? Like, at least that's what I was always told. Like, there doesn't have to be, like, from what I was told by, like, my family, everything's already happened enough to where the rapture could happen. That's what I was told. There wasn't, like, anything left.
Somebody says the Antichrist, but clearly the Antichrist, it says what to look for.
I just think...
So we can't go proclaiming him as that if this hasn't been fulfilled. But that's interesting, too, because then it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of...
like that church, you know, in California. That's like what they say. Like he says, everything, enough has happened, enough has been like fulfilled to where the rapture can happen at any moment, and then these things would just happen after. That's what they're taught there. Yeah, because that's what I was told.
But again, if they're sorry, my phone's gonna die soon. But it just like the more I hear, the less it makes sense, because it's just like, if you guys believe there's an antichrist, like one specific antichrist, and he's gonna come and deceive people, who's he gonna deceive? It's just like this scripture in Revelation 20. It's like, if you guys don't think there's any believers here when Satan is loose, who is he deceiving? Those who don't walk with the Lord are already deceived. So who is he going to deceive and gather to be his armies? And it's just interesting because nobody knows about those verses because of the rapture, because basically those who believe in the rapture, it's like, who cares about what happens in those parts of Revelation?
Yes, and that is why nobody knows what Revelation 20 is. That's exactly why, because they don't care. And that's where my mindset was. I don't really care what happens. I'm not going to be here. Like, you know? So...
because it's like, if every bit of God's word is meant for us to read and understand, so the last what is it? I don't even know. Like 5 chapters of Revelation, whatever it is, we're just going to ignore because it doesn't pertain to us.
Yeah, like that is literally exactly why. And I don't know. I just think like what I said in the last one, like we should know every part of the Bible, every timeline you could be in, just in case we're wrong. Let's know our whole Bibles, not just like the parts we think apply to us, you know? I don't know. I just think I just think it's kind of weird once you see this and you realize we missed out on a whole chunk of the Bible because we didn't care.
Yeah.
Because we didn't think it applied to us. Yeah. Which is weird.
Yeah. That is weird.
Yeah.
I don't, the whole thing, it just like, it will just never not blow my mind.
I know.
Oh gosh.
I know.
But We probably should. It's hour 10. I just wanted to share, talking about parenting. This verse, there's a few verses I wanted to share, and I kind of forgot. But this is one thing about parenting, not to shift gears back to that. But this past year, I think it's so easy, especially as a stay-at-home mom, to just like not enjoy your kids, I think, because you're constantly having to redirect emotions and feelings and discipline and do all these things, that it's easy to forget to enjoy
Mm-hmm.
them, and they are coming from the
Mm-hmm.
Lord. Uh, so there's a few verses I wanted to share on that, just to encourage others. But this one in Psalm 12 or 127 3-5 says, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are children born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be ashamed when they contend with the enemies at the gate." And one, I just love that they are a reward, they are a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And like the fact that it kind of goes into this like analogy of like going to war is a reminder of like what our job is as
Yes, to
parents.
be
Is like
praying
we are
over
to
them.
grow,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and to like lead them into a way where they also can be warriors and
Mm-hmm.
lead others to the kingdom,
Yeah.
like teaching them and growing them in those ways. Let me see if I have the other one. Um, yeah, there's a lot of them, so I won't share them all. But and just this one, like why it's been important to Alyssa and I to stay home and teach, be their teachers as well. As in Deuteronomy 6, it says, "And these words that I am commanding you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them to your children, talking of them when you sit in your
Mm-hmm.
house and when you walk on the way and when you lie down and when you rise." And I love that
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, it's a
Yeah.
continual. It's like, no matter what you're doing, talk about the Lord. Show them things about the
And even
Lord.
too, like in our own day to day, like, like it says, do everything without grumbling and complaining, right? We're supposed to do everything. So even like our household chores of it's
Never.
it's never ending. I'm just like, I feel like I just did these dishes. I feel like I just cleaned this room. And, I definitely find myself doing that. And it's like, we can
Yeah.
even be teaching them in our attitude towards keeping everything clean, keeping food on the table for them, all these things of like just teaching them in that way. And yeah,
Yeah.
like, how are they going to remember us growing up? How are they going to remember our attitudes towards all these things? Because that matters. Like, that's how it's going to affect who they are when they grow up and how much
Yeah.
we talk about the Lord and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love that verse because it's just like about having
Mm-hmm.
conversations with your kids. And that's, I think
I
that
love that.
for me, what's most important is like, I grew up in a Christian home and not all of my siblings are followers of Jesus. And sometimes I have a fear of that. Like, so for me, it's very important that when I have these conversations with them, I let them have these questions and like just teach them to question
Mm-hmm.
things. Like not to question if the Lord is who he says he
Mm-hmm.
is, but like it's okay to come to God with your questions and to think through things or to not think about things the same way that other people
Mm-hmm.
do. Like I repeatedly tell them when they hear, we don't talk about the little season stuff with the kids at all. I'm sure they've heard a few things, but like as far as the earth or like our thoughts on Nephilim and giants, they hear those conversations and they talk about them. And I always tell them like um, I, I don't know what's allowed to be said on YouTube and stuff, but and stuff, the kids will talk about those. And I always, always, always tell them, you know, it's okay for other people to feel differently. Not everybody's gonna think about these
Mm-hmm.
things the same way that your dad and I do. And like the most important thing is that when you're an adult and you can think for yourself, like is to bring it back to God's word and you can decide from there what you think
Yep.
about it. And like just I want them to be able to think for themselves and to make a decision for Christ on their own and not just feel like, to piggyback on my faith,
Yeah, I think that's
like,
so important. Just like, yeah, talking through everything with them and explaining too, like, yes, God does give us like rules, boundaries, but He does it all because if we do those things, we're going to live the most blessed life. You know what I mean? Like, I try and teach them that
Sure.
because I know that there are so many kids who are like, oh, God just like gives you rules. And it's,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just like, I love taking any opportunity I can to like, if they have a question, to like talk it out as much as I can. My oldest, he's 10, so he'll talk to me a long time about this stuff. But my other ones are still kind of small and they don't. Obviously, one's
Yeah.
3, so she doesn't have questions. Although I am here to say, if your kid, I don't like Miss Rachel, but like my daughter always wants to. I let her watch like a couple, and I didn't like it. But there's this girl. Her name is Miss Letty. It's called like Ac-
Oh.
Acorn something. I can't remember the name of it. I love her. She's so cute, and she's like kind of like a Miss Rachel. She teaches some things, but she has all these fun songs about God. And my daughter was singing Jesus came to save the world or something the other day all by herself. And I was like, that's just so sweet.
Isn't that the
It's just the
sweetest? I
sweetest.
know.
Or like the other day we had on like just worship music on the TV and she was just dancing. And I was like, oh, are you worshiping Jesus? And she was like, yeah. And it was just like maybe a little teary.
Nothing. I know. There's nothing like that.
It's so sweet.
Also, Jingle Jackie. Jingle Jackie on YouTube.
Jingle
Maybe we'll
Jackie.
tag. Yeah, maybe we'll tag
Okay,
both of
yeah.
them.
I haven't seen
So
that.
people can find them. 'Cause I've never seen Miss Rachel. I just never wanted to
Yeah,
watch
I
it.
mean, it's like everybody lets their kids watch her, so I was like, I'll just try it. But then it's like they had a girl who didn't look like a girl singing a song, and I was like, I'm just not. Let's watch something else.
Oh, like explaining
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is the best when your kids, like, when I hear them the other day, what happened? I don't know if a cop car went by. I think we saw a helicopter leaving the
Hmm.
hospital. And I was like, oh, somebody must have been hurt. And they're like, I hope it wasn't a kid and
Oh,
hope they're okay. And then one of them was like, maybe we should pray for
oh
them. And they prayed
my
on their own.
gosh,
That's the sweetest thing.
that
To
is
do
so
that.
sweet.
Or this is hilarious. I don't think I told you this, but I was putting them all to bed. My youngest boy was like, he said something like about Jesus being in his heart. And he's like, I don't think he's listening to me because I don't see him in my heart. And I was like, well, you can't see him in there, baby. And so I was like trying to explain it to him. And then like I said, do you want him to be in your heart? Because that's something you have to choose. And he said, I do. I said, okay, do you want to pray and ask him? And we said a whole little prayer. I know he's only 3 and it's not the same, but I just thought it was so
That's
sweet that he
so
said the little prayer.
sweet. I know praying.
And I was just like, I'll never forget that.
I
ever,
know.
you
I've
know?
prayed with both my oldest boys, and like I'll never forget those moments of like praying for them to ask Jesus into their heart, and it's just like sweetest little moments. That's
I
like,
know. It really
yeah,
is.
I know.
Those are the things on the hard days
I know.
of parenting, like the sweet conversations about the Lord or them wanting to pray. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
but
I know. Yeah. And also, like, just to say, we're not like, I never want to come off as judgy because I feel like everybody truly has their own convictions, right? Like, everybody
Mhm.
feels the way that they feel, and you do what you feel like God's calling you to do. So, I never ever want to like shame anybody, judge anybody for doing different things than us. These are just, we happen to be very similar in our convictions. So, like,
Yeah.
we just kind of,
I also think that there's just like not everybody has the opportunity, but if I think what we're trying to get across is like if you feel like the Lord's putting this on your heart,
then you can
is
trust
like you
Him.
might have to make sacrifices, but yeah, but also just like be prayerful about it. Ask him to open those doors, and like if he's putting it on your heart, he's gonna
Yeah.
make a way for it. But yeah, like we know not everybody can be in that position. Like one of our closest friends, she just had to get a part-time job, and it's on her heart to also be a stay-at-home mom. But in this season of their life, her husband's finishing up some school stuff. Like she knows that this is a sacrifice she has to make in this
Mm-hmm.
moment so that the future can look the way they want it to. And like, so it's just, we know not everybody's going to have the same situation as us, but I think it was all just to say of like, first of all, like me learning from my parents what they feel like was their greatest mistake. It's like I want to learn from other people's mistakes
Yes.
and not make them
Yeah.
on my
Yeah, and I feel like it reminds
so
me too of the verse like God will give you the desires of your heart. And I think when you're truly seeking him, he puts those desires into your heart. You know what I mean? Like I think they come from him,
sure.
and then he's going, if you really really feel strongly about something, he's going to make that way for you. But you have to, like I said, like God has Chase and I like going to God in this time he's just provided so many
Mhm.
different times for us. And like you said to me, you're like, he's building that trust in you. And it's like, he definitely is. So I feel like it's been really
Mhm.
cool opportunity. So yeah, if it's like something that's on your heart, like we're just here to encourage you that God can make it work for you.
Make a way where there's
Yeah,
no way.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, I think that's all we
Yeah.
have today.
Yeah.
So, all right, we will see y'all
All
later.
right. Bye.
Bye.